Sweden is holding the biggest war games since the last 2 decades with members of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, involving 19,000 troops. Sweden will conduct a simulated attack from the east of the Baltic island, Gotland, near the Swedish mainland. The security situation continues to develop in a bad direction, said Mikael Biden, commander of the Swedish Armed Forces, while presenting the plan for the 3-week war games. After the defense budget cuts, Sweden, which is not a NATO member, fears it will not be able to keep up with Russia's military strength. On Thursday, 14/9, local time, Sweden and the Baltic countries, plus Poland, were very disturbed by Russia's annexation of the territory of Ukraine, the Crimean Peninsula and near the Black Sea, in 2014. They also protested Moscow's support for separatist insurgents in eastern Ukraine. Russia is a country that has greatly influenced the security situation in Europe today with a number of their actions, such as occupying Crimea and fighting in eastern Ukraine, so it is clear we are closely monitoring what Russia is doing, Biden said. Our 1,500 troops from the United States, France, Norway and a number of other NATO member countries also participated in the war games called Aurora. The Swedish Armed Forces, which used to be able to mobilize an army of more than 600,000 men, now number only 20,000 plus 22,000 reservist volunteers. The Nordic Kingdom has also reinstated military service. NATO said the Aurora war games were not a response to Russia's military drills on Thursday, 14/9, local time. Biden stressed the importance of the NATO position for Sweden. We are a sovereign nation that is responsible for our own security. We do it with other parties, who are ready to support and ready to receive assistance, he said. The United States sent a number of war vehicles by sea from Germany, while France sent their war equipment by train. The Swedish government has generally said it will remain neutral amid NATO's rivalry with Russia. Sweden has not been involved in a war since fighting Norway in 1814. 200 years of war. Sweden's or NATO's concerns about Russia are well-founded. Reported by the Russian media RBTH, throughout the history of Russia's war. For 200 years, Russia was at war for 128 years and was in peace for 72 years. In those 128 years of war, 123 years were spent capturing other territories. Between Sweden and Russia there were 10 wars, from the mid-16th century to the early 19th century. Hostilities between Russia and Sweden began in the 12th century, when the Republic of Novgorod, an ancient state that is now part of Russia, and Sweden fought for power in the East Baltic. After that, the two countries signed the Orahovetsky Peace Treaty of 1323, which divided the lands of Karelia for Novgorod and Finland for Sweden. However, this is only the beginning of the centuries-old conflict between the two. In 1377, Sweden seized control of West Karelia, Österbotten, which Novgorod already had. After 1478, when Novgorod became part of Russia, the struggle for the East Baltic with Sweden continued. The tradition of war over the Baltics between Russia and Sweden continued under the leadership of subsequent Russian Tsars, including Ivan IV, Fyodor I, and Alexis I. Under Peter the Great, Russia succeeded in making a fundamental shift in the balance of power in its relations with Sweden. Sweden's defeat in the Northern War, 1700 to 1721, forced the country not only to surrender part of its territory to Russia, but also the land south of the Baltic seacoast. Sweden has only Wismar and very little land in Pomerania. Moreover, after the defeat in the Northern War, the Century of Freedom began in Sweden, an era marked by the weakening of the king's role and the increasing role of parliament. In an attempt to reclaim the lands lost in the defeat in the Northern War, Sweden repeatedly fought the Russian Empire, Russian-Swedish War 1741 to 1743, Russo-Swedish War 1788 to 1790, and Russo-Swedish War 1808 to 1809. Under the terms of the Treaty of Frederikshamn agreed in September 1809, Sweden had to cede the land islands, Finland, and Lapland up to the Torne and Muonio rivers. Sweden has lost more than a third of its territory, and no longer holds great power status.